Time to call the meeting to order, the regular board meeting of the Ross Valley Sanitary District. Roll call, please.
Yes, thank you. Director Borstein?
Yes.
Director Kelly? Director Kelly's on mute.
Doug, you're on mute.
Yes, I'm here, and I'm moving rooms, by the way.
No worries. Director Meggs?
Here.
Director Silla?
Here.
President Gaffney?
Here. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the
To the
flag
flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it
for which
stands,
it stands, one nation,
under
under
God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
God.
Thank you. And now we're going to adjourn to closed session. I'd like to reconvene to open session. We had a discussion among the board, and there will be in a few agenda item 15. We'll go into more detail on what happened. Let's go to item 6, approval of agenda. We have some people, like Mr. Park is here. Do we need to move that item up?
That would be, yeah, if you're interested, Mr. Park is here for the item number 13. So it's up to you if you'd like to bring it in further up the agenda.
A point of information, General Manager Moore is, Mr. Park is also the construction manager for item number 12.
Very good. Yeah, so for both 12 and 13. Thank you, Board Clerk.
Do we want to move that up, board members? Yes. What does that mean, Doug?
Sure. Anywhere you want to move it.
Okay, let's move. Those are the big agenda items for us. Let's move them right after the open time. Are we going to have Somas?
So moved.
Is Somas going to be here too?
No, Park Engineering is the construction manager for 2021.
Okay. Okay, I've got a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, good. Any questions? Is there any public that would like to comment? I don't know if there is or not. Any further discussion by board? Okay, let's
Roll call.
roll call vote.
Director Borstein?
Yes.
Director Kelly?
You're
Director Kelly, can you hear us?
You're
I'll come
muted.
back to Director Kelly. It looks like he might be having some trouble with his audio. Director Meggs?
Yes.
Director Silla?
Yes.
President Gaffney?
Yes.
And Director Kelly is in the waiting room. Let's get him back in the here, maybe with the audio on a separate device.
Well, with the motion carried, let's move to agenda item 7. Open time for public to raise items not on the agenda or for future agendas. Anyone wishing to address the board of directors on matters within the district's jurisdiction but not on the posted agenda may do so. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. The board may not take any action. Is there any comments from the public? I'm not hearing any. We'll move on. Let's go to agenda item number 12, which is consideration of approval of contract change orders 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 in the total amount not to exceed, that should be $280,081.50. I don't have that in my agenda. Okay, is it Steve? Are you going to lead this one?
Yes, Phil Benedetti was not available this evening, so I can cover for him. And also we have Jamin Park here, who is the construction manager for the project and assisted greatly with the documentation of the proposed change orders. Also call attention to Paul Brummer, our O&M manager, who's been the point of contact for the project team, and of course, Felicia Newhouse has been supporting him as we navigate this remodeling project. So, and I invite you all to chime in and provide some details, but as an overview to the board, you'll recall that we issued a construction contract in March or you awarded a construction contract in March of this year to Kirby Construction to construct the remodeling project to make the 1111 Anderson building suitable for our office and warehouse operations, and to consolidate them under one roof at the facility that you purchased in 2019. And after we awarded the contract and we were getting ready to mobilize construction, the tenant Comcast contacted us and inquired whether the district would be interested in using the lower first floor entry area next to the front parking lot. And as we discussed along the way, this was really the hope, many, if not all board members, that this would be the location of the board meeting room on the first floor, much more accessible to the public. So we affirmatively responded, confirmed that this did not have any financial impacts with respect to our lease agreement, and worked with our architect, Albert DeLima, to modify the plans to change the board meeting room from the second floor to the first floor. So these changes in the end, as we got construction underway in August, and we enumerated the different types of work necessary to put the board meeting room and restroom facilities and a support room and a front counter on the first floor. This board item enumerates those changes in different categories. There's contract, and there are 5 contract change orders that are aggregated into this board item for a total of $280,081.50. The 5 change orders, the first one involve, and as they're laid out on page 2 of the staff report, which is the board packet 48, page 48 of item 12. The first change order involved extra work related to demolition, framing, insulation, drywall, painting, doors, ceiling, and window modifications for the area of the boardroom. So this was a major change order that added up to $93,000 and change, but it incorporated credits that we received for not having to purchase not having to construct conference rooms on the second floor because the board meeting room was changed to the first floor. So this contract change order would have been more had not been credits that our construction manager and project team worked out with the contractor. So I wanted to highlight the first of the 5 change orders as a major complicated endeavor. The second change order, number 2, is for the HVAC, or the circulation system for air circulation. The third change order was for installing plumbing on the first floor to accommodate a first floor restroom for the boardroom, as well as some plumbing for the support area that has a sink, a lot like the old Central Marin Police Authority facility has a sink in that, for instance. And then the change under order number 4 is for data and wiring to accommodate the changes to the first floor for the boardroom. And then finally, change order number 5 is related to furnishings and cabinetry that went with some of the changes to put the first floor welcome area, much like we see here at Kerner. We have a front counter, and so those type of built-in furnishings were part of that change order. So I want to go over those the general list of change orders and their character, just to brief you, and then at this point, invite, I suppose, Jamin, you can weigh in, or certainly Paul, you could maybe add anything I may have missed with that. But this is the package, the price of admission, if you will, to be able to have a boardroom on the first floor.
Yeah,
Paul?
Steve, I'll jump in a little bit there. You know, as we all know, you don't really know what you're getting into till you open that can of worms too. You know, this building was built and changed a couple times. So as we dug in a little bit to the building, we were finding a couple little things. Routing the sewer, we had to do a little bit of x-ray penetration. So, you know, there's little changes that came along with the boardroom and whatnot and layout that of course adds up to these costs. And you know, everything's going smoothly, and I think we have a good plan moving ahead. As Steve said, I think this is all pretty reasonable with the move and the credits from the upstairs. And it looks like it's moving forward pretty smooth at this point.
Yeah, good. And Jamin was real critical in reviewing all of the contractors' proposed dollar changes and the list of you know, all the list, the complicated list of all the markups, if you will. Jamin, do you have any insight you want to pass along to the board?
Sure. So I'll just add a little bit of some of the details that went through. So we went back and forth with the contractor negotiating, you know, different components of the work, because there's quite a bit of work when we removed the conference room from upstairs to moving it downstairs. There's actually multiple changes that have to happen upstairs as well. So the bulk of the work really is the framing, which is why the CCO number 1 and change order number 3 are the two biggest things. So the framing that had to be reconfigured upstairs, and then had to redo all the framing downstairs to actually accommodate the boardroom. And CCO number 3, which is the biggest of the 5 change orders, is installing a new bathroom. And it's really to accommodate the assembly room and all the staff, support staff downstairs. That way you wouldn't have to go upstairs to use the restrooms during meetings and whatnot. So, and that really involved pulling all the plumbing from upstairs through the downstairs, and then obviously making sure that we can actually put a bathroom in that'll connect to the sewer lateral that goes out into the street. So there's quite a bit of work involved with the bathrooms and then all the plumbing that goes with it. So those are really the two biggest change orders. And there was quite a bit of back and forth, but I think the prices that we received from the contractor is very reasonable.
Great. So with that, we're happy to answer any questions board members may have.
Doug, you had one?
Yeah, gentlemen, we talked about this, Steve and I, just yesterday. What's the information on the lateral? Has that lateral been tested? I mean, can we get a low interest loan? What's the deal?
Yeah, I don't think San Rafael Sanitation District has a lateral loan program, so I can answer that. But.
Okay.
If I might say, Doug, that the building committee was there yesterday and we looked at that. And if you look at the lawn where the lateral goes under,
It lets me know it's leaking.
it's leaking. You know, we haven't looked at it, but it's must be leaking all over the place. So that'll be repaired.
Okay. Yeah, I was there yesterday for a tour as well.
Yeah,
Oh.
but our tour was better. I'm just kidding.
We highly recommend touring it. It's great fun to see.
Yeah.
I made some calculations. It's about it. Felicia told me it's 2,177 feet squared, and at $280,000, it's less than $140 a square foot for remodeling,
Awesome.
which I think is really good for a public agency because we have to do so many things. And you know, we're back in this thing where we're listing it as a change order, but it's, you know, a change order. I think of their, whoops, you didn't include something that you should have. This is a brand new project. We've added 2,200 square feet now, which we were going to add probably in 10 years when their lease is up. and it really enhances the building, in my opinion. We get to, we had that confusing double door thing entry, and our elevator was way in the back, and now, we own the entryway, and the conference room is the board meeting room is really cool because at one end it's got two curved corners on it, so we don't have to, that's already in there. We also raised the ceiling a bit. It changed the tone. I think the ceiling's going to go up about a foot. So it's going to be a very neat room, especially with the audio visual type things that we have. It's going to be a great board room. And I for one, really want to share it with other public agencies. I think hopefully, this is a public facility and it can be used by lots of other public agencies, and I can think of, and it's a nice central location for a Marin County agency. So that's my take on it.
Tom, I agree with you sharing with the other agencies, but also we can rent that place out and make a little bit of money.
We could, yeah.
I mean, that's what Central Marin Police Office does.
Yeah. I kind of want to, well, we can talk about that, but I really like it as a resource for public agencies. If we've got it there, we're not using it, let them have it. If we rent it out, that's fine too, but yeah. Like Mira, Doug, I think they need a good meeting place.
Who?
Mira.
Oh yeah, no question. That would be an improvement for Mira. No question about it. Massive.
That's a county-wide agency, and that gets our public image out there with other public agencies. Which
yeah, I agree with that. For the record, Steve, when I was on Marin, so Tom still is, I think. We were meeting in Nevada, and it just wasn't comfortable. You had a conference table in the middle, and then there were seats around the room. And I remember walking in the first time, and everybody's sitting around the room. And I sat at the conference table, which I always did ever since. But I think it's a little bit more equitable to put it in our place. I think they'd be happier. So also closer to most people. So.
Yeah, Mike.
Just real quick. I think it's fabulous that we had the opportunity to move this downstairs, because had we not been able to do that and the boardroom was upstairs, we wouldn't even have the possibility of having other agencies in Marin County use the room upstairs, because there would have just been too much issue with people going around and looking in people's offices and having to design a conference room where, with elevator up, elevator. This is just, I think, fabulous. And so I'm looking forward to having our meetings there. And also remember, this is set up for a hybrid meeting. So it'll be much better for the public to be able to look in and watch and participate. So looking forward to all of that.
Great. Pamela, you've got.
I had a lovely tour today.
Good.
It was pretty cool. It's like, you won't get another opportunity to see that again.
Yeah.
So it was saying you should get a video before and after or during or something. I think it's kind of helpful if we look back 100 years from now.
Right.
As a nurse, this just sort of popped in my head today. I want to ask, is there one bathroom upstairs and one down? That's it?
No, there's a bunch of bathrooms upstairs. There's locker room bathrooms for the staff.
Wait. How many bathrooms are upstairs, Steve?
Oh, yeah. So there's a male, female bathroom right next to, so there's two bathrooms right next to the elevator on the second floor. And then there's also, as Director Kelly noted, restrooms in the back of the building especially for field staff. So, and then there's a single occupancy bathroom on the first floor that we're building as a part of the changes.
I would add one more on the first floor. If they have to go all the way to the back, isn't that into Comcast territory then?
No, that's the second floor. They go back.
Yeah, so we have the overflow capacity for, more than, in case there's a really huge audience in the.
Yeah, well, as a nurse, I'm just thinking if someone's sick, it keeps the bathroom closed, and somehow I didn't know the numbers, but you always want that extra bathroom. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we did look into that. It was just, we didn't have the square footage to be able to comply with ADA requirements to have 2 bathrooms on the first floor. And still meet all the other needs that we had identified.
So we only have 1 on the first floor then.
That's right. Yeah.
That's not gonna work if you've got public meetings and you could have 40, 50 people in there and it just takes that 1 person to get sick and they can't run into the elevator. And, you know, I'm sorry, but I can't agree on this plan without that second bathroom downstairs for the public.
There's no room.
Well, we did get, the city of San Rafael reviewed that and confirmed that it meets code.
All right, but if someone's sick and has that bathroom closed up for half an hour and someone else needs something, I'm just thinking of being in these situations and even in a hospital. So I don't know what to say. I can't believe they would do that. Unless you gave them, I mean, did you have to give them the numbers on was there a CEQA and everything done on this?
Yeah, we really received a thorough review. We gave it to them, what was it, June? Early June, and it took until late July for the city to review all the changes. And there was a lot of back and forth, and there may have been changes related to the bathroom. But it was approved. And like we said, we do have the 2 bathrooms right next to the elevator on the second floor. So we've got 3 bathrooms available for the
But you got to get up there.
On the elevator.
on the elevator. So it's
I mean, if you're
ADA.
really- I don't
ADA
think you guys
compliant.
understand. If you're going to have diarrhea or vomiting or something of that nature, you do not want to go into an elevator. I believe me. And then, or somebody get really sick and go in there and you can't, they're too sick to get out of there. I'm just telling you, if you can possibly put in a half bath or something adjacent, if we're going to start doing more education, having more groups in there, anyway, it's kind of what's going on at the Good Earth in Fairfax. They did not put in enough bathrooms. They even put in 2, but the line is always long when you go there. Always, always, always. There's 3, 4 people because that is the only place in that whole store for the bathrooms for the public. So anyway, I'm sorry, I didn't think of that until later tonight. But if you're saying CEQA approved it, I don't know how many numbers of people you gave them on the report. You supposedly had to do that, right?
I don't
Yeah.
CEQA deal. I don't think it was CEQA.
Or
Yeah, it's just,
whoever.
but yeah, just through the city planning department, we really received the most thorough review, all ADA compliant. They look at the maximum occupancy of the assembly room, and there is a certain amount of restroom availability that they do review, and they approve this plan.
Is the lateral, I think at some time in the future, we may even hear from Comcast again, and we may get an additional space in the back, and we can add, we could add an adjacent bathroom if we had more space in the future.
There are 2 bathrooms, male and female gender bathrooms that are about 25 feet away from that bathroom we're talking about.
Yeah.
That's just across on the same floor on the Comcast side, just on the other side of their assembly room. So there's plenty of bathrooms.
With multiple stalls, it looks like from the drawing.
Well, those are showers, I think, but.
No,
Okay,
but I think-
okay, you guys, if I'm there and someone gets sick, I'm gonna see the manager over there. He will help you.
It's
No,
okay.
I've had these situations happen to me.
But you'll be the nurse on the
in
spot.
an elevator. You're
Well,
in.
I relate, as a civil
You can walk
engineer.
up the
I'm
stairs
supposed
as
to
well,
look-
Pam. You don't have to use the elevator.
If you're sicker than a dog, you don't go up stairs, Doug.
We don't go in an elevator either. So, we're going to put a sign out front that's saying, if you're not feeling well, please stay home.
Okay, yes, please. You could put a bathroom outside, actually. You just have to make sure it's locked up, certain times. That is another option, I would hope. If you've got a lateral down there, you have the hookup, right?
You don't have fresh water.
Yeah, we will get it.
Bathrooms are very expensive.
I've
$100,000 a
I've
bathroom.
vented my experience and what I feel, and I'm sorry if you don't like it, but it's the way it is. Okay,
I'd like to make a motion, please, if there's no additional comments by the board. I would move the consideration of approval of contract change orders number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 in the total amount not to exceed, let me get the appropriate number here. 200, Tom, please tell me the 280,000
$81.50.
and 50 cents for additional work on the RVSD headquarter consolidation project with Kirby Construction, Inc.
Second,
I have a question.
Yes. Doug.
My total amount says 2013, 743.
No, there was an addendum
Updated.
that Felicia sent out today.
Gotcha. Okay. Saw the email. Didn't, okay. All right. Got it.
Yeah, change order number 1 cost 93,070,
Okay.
not 27,000. Yeah.
All right.
Okay, any other questions or discussions? Any comments from the public? Okay, let's do a roll call vote. Felicia? or who's-
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Director Borstein,
Yes, absolutely. Let's go.
Director Kelly,
Yes.
Director Meggs,
abstain.
Director Silla,
yes.
President Gaffney.
Yes. Okay, thank you. That passes. Now let's go on to number 13, I think it is. It is 13, consideration of approval of contract change orders, order numbers 5, S1, 6, S1, and 7 in the total amount of $57,096.39 and consideration of adopting resolution 22-1635 approving final acceptance and authorizing the general manager to file a notice of completion for the fiscal year 2021 gravity sewer improvements project number 951 with Glossage Engineering and authorizing release of the 5% retention at the end of the 35-day lien period.
All right. Yes, thank you, President Gaffney, for reading that agenda title. Did it very well. There's a lot going on. This is the latest capital improvement project for the district completed recently. It was originally initiated in late July, early August, a year ago. So in August 2021 or late July. And we have Jamin Park here. Again, he's the construction manager that helped guide the work over this year and several month period. It was one of our projects where we have different clusters of sewer rehabilitation. And as I described in the finance committee, this group of sewer rehabilitation projects was like a bridge between the old IAMP from 2013 and the new IAMP here from 2021. And it it represented the last of the list of defects that needed to be addressed in the cease and desist order from the Regional Water Board. So there were about 7, I'm just remembering from memory, about 7 or 8 pipe defects that had to be corrected as part of that enforcement order. And sometimes we would do them in-house and sometimes we do the defect repairs through rehab in capital projects. And that was the case with several on this. The projects were in the Rancheria neighborhood of Kent Woodlands and the Sequoia Park neighborhood of San Anselmo. There was some important rehabilitation of a large sewer along South Elysia Drive, where all the medical offices are near Bon Air Drive, and some different ancillary pieces, one in Skyland Drive there in Ross, next to Laurel Grove. And there were several change orders along the way. We had really a competent contractor that was very responsive and efficient when the work, the pipe bursting work was accomplished very efficiently and without any drama, without arguments about the details of the planned work. It really was completed quickly, and there was an opportunity in many locations where the actual sewers on the plans, the adjacent sewers, through a quick camera work or even looking at our own CMMS, it made sense with such a competent contractor to fix those adjacent sewers as well. So we see this, especially in the Sequoia Park area, where we would add a segment here or there and increase the mileage of sewers rehabilitated very efficiently at the low bid prices of this contract. No haggling, they would just agree to the bid price. So we found this to be a very efficient way to augment our sewer rehabilitation well within the definition of the contract. So it was a very successful project. Our metrics on sewer rehab really went up through the execution of this project. We completed cease and desist order defects. And then, as you may remember, in June, we had identified a bottleneck downstream of work at Laurel Way in Kent Woodlands. And you approved a larger change order to increase the diameter on the Woodland trunk sewer to 1 foot and combine there was a 6-inch sewer and a newer 8-inch sewer. We combined them into a 12-inch sewer. And that was done in September, I believe, Jamin, right? And so, and some minor changes to that are part of the contract change order 6S1, I believe. As we were building that sewer, we found opportunity to move it, get rid of a deep brick manhole, and get away from a cluster of utilities, which is always good because those utilities will come back and rehab their utilities, and we don't want them crowding into our sewer, right? So a lot of stories, because with all those different sewer projects that were aggregated into this 2021 project, we really took advantage of opportunities to do more than we envisioned, but within the contract definition. So what you see on board packet page 67 on table 1 is looks like a long list of change orders, but many of these were held, and Jamin, correct me if I'm wrong, but many were within the bid allowance that we allow for change conditions or added work. And in this table 1 that Phil Benedetti put together, board packet page 67, you see 3 rows that have an asterisk in them. And those are the change orders we're asking for board approval here at the close of the project. And they total the 57,096 and 39 cents. And the rest of them, you had either approved the larger ones back in June, the ones over 100,000, or they had been approved as the project went on through our administrative approvals for change orders. And so now we're at the end of the job. We're recommending, and Jamin recommends acceptance as the construction manager. Staff is recommending you approve these last change orders, and we're excited because we're fortunate to have Glossage be the low bidder for the 22-23 project, which is getting underway in the next couple of weeks. So again, they're a known entity with a good track record. So I'm pleased to recommend that they receive the notice of completion so they can get the retention, the 5% retention that we've withheld in about 35 days. So that's my long-winded explanation, but it was a long project. A lot going on. I wanted to give you a little flavor for it and our general satisfaction with the project. And I want to thank Jamin and his staff for keeping a good eye on Glossage and managing the project through to completion. And Jamin, if you have any comments to add on that, what you think of the project.
Thanks, Steve. I think you pretty much covered everything. The project did go very well, and these last few change orders are really just some minor adjustments that we had to make. There was a few little things that we added and kind of made better for the future, really. As Steve was saying, there was one location where we actually got rid of an old brick manhole and kind of got everything moved away from existing utilities, so everything is much easier to maintain in the future. And really, the project did go very smoothly, and I think Glossage is a great contractor to work with, and hopefully the next project that the district's doing with Glossage will go just as smooth.
Thank you. Happy to answer any questions.
Michael,
I just really want to, this is like a historic moment in time for this district. There are no, I want to emphasize, no more class 5 defects. Okay, there are no more class 5 defects. Uh-oh, Steve has his fingers up. Okay.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about this in the metrics report. We're not. at
I
zero,
know, but this is
but
part of this.
we don't have any more defects to do in the cease and desist order. You're
That's
correct.
exactly right. This has been 8 years. I've been here under a cease and desist order. And, hopefully soon we can get out of that. And anyway, that's really awesome work, Steve and staff, in getting to this point.
does this mean that the cease and desist, are we going to, is this going to have a direct impact on that, you think?
This was the part of the accounting for the defects that needed to be remedied. We remedied a lot of them in-house, and we reported to the water board in February. So it's been a few months that we had completed all of that work, because we had, as part of this contract, that work had been completed last year, because it's been a long-running project. So they indicated in an email that it appears we've completed all our work, and so it's just a matter of them getting around to an administrative action with us, and there's a lot of things probably ahead of that on their priority list. So we're waiting to hear back from them. Also, they had capital projects in the cease and desist order. We've convinced them we're completed with all of those once we complete the pump station 14 project that's underway right now. And so we're not done with that capital project yet. And so I don't think we really will approach them to say we're complete with the cease and desist order until we issue a notice of completion for the pump station 14 project.
That's that one near Hall School? Is that
That's right. And also we have generators going into the 2 pump stations on South Elysia Drive. That's part of that project as well. And that we estimate to be in January.
So, it looks like a lot of change orders, but actually it's really a lot of additional work. In other words, it's additional projects. Again, we have a tendency to do that. And probably isn't, hey, as you explained, it's really an efficient way to do it, because we don't have to pay setup, or all we do is go to the unit prices. Isn't that right, Steve?
That's right. That is one part of them. And actually, I want to compliment Jamin on concise but thorough documentation on each of these change orders. There are times when there's unforeseen conditions.
Right.
We're dealing with the underground. And so a good example of that is page 71, board packet 71, change order number 7. The first extra work on this change order had to do with working around existing utilities and unforeseen condition, additional excavation, rerouting pipe around obstacles. You see where I am kind of in the middle
Oh,
of,
yeah, I do, yeah.
you know, and so we don't get everything sometimes during the design phase. And so we do need to do change orders for different conditions that are represented on the plans. It happens, you know, we try to avoid it, but so it isn't all the change orders for opportunistic additional work, but you'll see it woven into these change orders that indeed we did take advantage of those existing bid prices that the contractor, you know, worked with us on. They felt that they could still make money and be viable at those prices, and then we saw a good value.
If you didn't have a good contractor, you might not decide to do that, right? You know, that-
Yeah, and I will, you know, and maybe not good or just favorable, I would say. You know, we had a good contractor in Ranger Pipelines working on the Butterfield project in the Fawn Drive, but we did not seek to do further work working with them. It didn't look like a cost-effective or time-efficient use of our resources.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any other discussion by the board members? Any questions? Any public? I don't think so.
Make a motion.
Yes,
I'd move to approve contract change order numbers 5S1, 6S1, and 7 in the total amount of $57,096.39, and move to adopt resolution number 22-1635, approving final acceptance and authorizing the general manager to file a notice of completion for the fiscal year 2021 gravity sewer improvement project, which is number 951, with Glossich Engineering Incorporated, and authorizing the release of the 5% retention at the end of the 35-day lien period.
Second,
any discussion? Roll call, please.
Director Borstein,
yes.
Director Kelly,
Yes.
Director Meggs,
Yes.
Director Scylla,
Yes.
President Gaffney.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much. Now,
Thank you, Jamie.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
And I'll note for fun fact, we abandoned a sewer that crossed George Lucas's property as part of this project.
Yes, we did.
So he's happy. It was just yes. Yeah.
did he know you did that?
I don't know if he knew. Did
Yeah,
you talk to him, Jamie, out in the field?
I didn't talk to him, but I did talk to his staff, and yeah, they know.
yeah, okay,
So yeah, we got the public sewer off of his land.
good.
But it wasn't for him, it was for us and our ratepayers.
That's correct. It was for the district.
Okay, thank you, Jamin.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move to agenda item 8, committee reports out. Finance Committee, Mary, would you start that, please?
Sure. The Finance Committee met yesterday and reviewed many of the items that we are reviewing tonight, including the 2 that we just approved. We went over the financials and nitpicked again. I'm kidding. The the format in which the beautiful format in which they are being provided. It's really become a work of art. The report that we look at, and it's easier to understand than any financials I've ever seen. Yeah, I think that would be all I would have to say, Tom. Everything looks in order, as you always say.
Yeah. Yeah, we find the district's in excellent financial condition. And yeah, I like the report format as well. And yes, we did nitpick a few things. But that's kind of the fun part of being on the Finance Committee. Okay, thank you. Let's go to the Ad Hoc Facilities Committee. We met, actually.
Yeah, we went over yesterday and walked through with Steve and Felicia, and really looking forward to being able to utilize this facility. We really went over the fact that by moving the board/community room downstairs, we were able to actually reduce the cost upstairs, which was talked about earlier today, because less walls need to be constructed and moved upstairs to accommodate that. And so it's just amazing the difference. So they're really going at it. That's great.
And that's so that if we didn't do it now, we would be doing a boardroom downstairs whenever we got that space. And so we avoided, a future project when you think about it, of converting back, because we really wanted to have the boardroom downstairs.
Oh.
Well, Tom, we may let Comcast, I may not be on the board by that time, but we may let Comcast stay now. We're getting revenue from them.
Well, we want, we might, but I think rather than I think we need more parking. And, I look at it as a way for us to consolidate.
Right. I get that. We'll have to wait for the time.
Move over there, but anyway, that's the future.
If we were to consider having them stay there longer, we could do it on a 1 week at a time lease contingency.
All right.
Yeah. Okay, CMSA.
Well, we met last week and happy to say that the assistant chair chaired the meeting and did a fabulous job. Who would that be? Oh, that would be Doug Kelly. And I'm just looking at everything here.
We had a board compensation policy where we did raise the fees to $1,000 a meeting. That was
Yeah.
fun. Yep.
Yeah, that
Just
didn't
kidding, Pam. I know. Wait, we didn't change the board compensation at all.
at this time, but it could happen in the future. But the really exciting thing that happened is that we have a liquid organic waste receiving and biogas treatment upgrade happening. And it was about a $2.5 million upgrade. And we got a Cal Recycle grant for $2.5 million, which means effectively the project was no cost to the district. And we put it out to bid, and GSE Engineering, which has done a tremendous amount of fabulous work. They're like Glossage to us, as GSE to CMSA. And we were very excited that not only were they the low bidder, they were the only bidder. And so we were meeting that night to approve the bid and go ahead and start shoveling. And then late last week, it was discovered in the Cal Recycle grant specifications that a certain number of the workers on the project had to be union, and that one in particular was the pipe fitters union, and GSA really didn't want to work with them. So we went to GSE and said, can you figure out a different way around this? And they said, no, we can't. But then Jason reached out to Cal Recycle and said, is there any wiggle room in this grant that we could just do it as is? And so we met on Tuesday night and we discussed that was the options. And the only two options were A, reject all bids and rebid it with a different content based on that, which was discovered. But Jason had not yet received a call back from Cal Recycle. And so both Doug and I pushed that we don't have to rush on this tonight, because going out and rebidding it and doing all that would have been a tremendous amount of work for the district, not for the district, but for the agency. And I know that Jason didn't really want to do that. And the agency really likes to work with GSE, which was, anyway, some of the people on the commission really wanted to reject the bids, but we convinced them, why don't we just hold off on that and see what Cal Recycle comes back with. And at 8 o'clock the next morning, Cal Recycle came back and said, oh, based on everything you told us, go for it. The bid is good. Which was terrific. And actually, in between meetings tonight at 4:30, Doug and I met at a special meeting of the Central Marin Sanitation Agency and approved the bid. So it's good to go, and we'll get the $2.5 million Cal Recycle plant grant, and that's all terrific.
You know, I heard there was only 5 of those grants given, and we got one of them.
Yeah, it's a real terrific thing that occurred. Paul, did you have anything to do with that?
I got to be part of all the plans and all the pre-design stuff, blueprint drawings and all that good stuff, but I didn't do the grant part.
Okay.
But they need it for the engine too, which is good. So it'll help a lot.
No, this is terrific because this week, I forget the name of the company is putting on the brand new cover on the second digester. And we've got the Jenbacher engine up and running, and we should be able to go full bore, sending out lots of energy to Marin Clean Energy, starting very quickly. And we'll have the old engine as a backup just in case. And one of the exciting things that we designed for is that if there's a PG&E power shutdown to the agency, rather than just having to switch over to a diesel generator and flare all the biogas, which is what we were legally required to do in the past, we can still use the biogas and create energy that we can run the district on. And pretty much right now, aside from a little bit of natural gas that we get from PG&E, we are full bore on biogas and not importing any energy. So it's very exciting over there. And hopefully we're going to start to move on recycled water there, which would be another really terrific thing. And there's also talk about if somehow desal gets to be built out there, that we can take the sludge from the desal and mix it with our brine and then use our diffusers out into the bay so as to have less impact on the biodiversity stuff in the bay. So I think us, CMSA, we're doing great things. So very exciting.
I'd add to that, we also did a review of Jason Dow, and we're all thrilled with him. So he's doing great. Ross Valley reps love him. The San Rafael reps love him. Corte Madera rep loves him. So it's all loving. I did note, because I was running the meeting, that the next meeting was scheduled for Tuesday, November 8th, which is election day. And I did ask, do we have that moved? So if anybody cares, it is moved to Wednesday, the 9th, so that people like Eli and Mary Beth, who are running, don't have to have a meeting on election night.
Oh, very good. You know, when Michael and I started on this board 8 years ago, none of our representatives would have been elected to serve as president or vice president of the CMSA. It was feud city, and we've turned that one around too.
We did.
North Bay, Pam.
I'm here. Yeah, they had a meeting. It was a guest presentation by Laura Kolendenko, who is the project manager of the State Coastal Conservancy. And it was a project from the Marin Keys Wetland Restoration Project overview. I sent you all pictures. And there's a big grant of money. You just bear with me and I'll open up a few notes on here. So now I can't see. So they worked with the Coastal Commission on this and staff, obviously. And so they had consultants to do a design and construction for this restoration. There was an agreement to provide the project with treated effluent water for dust control and irrigation to establish vegetation, over 40 million gallons of treated effluent supplied over course of the project. And they negotiated with the Regional Water Board to modify NSD discharge permit to allow discharge to the newly created wetland to propagate and enhance desired brackish marsh. And last, just another comment, the state recently allotted 20 million for the final stage of this project. So NSD, which is the Novato Sand District, is part of this, and they will continue to coordinate closely with the Coastal Commission as design and construction move forward. The final project will relocate NSD discharge point, transitioning from shallow water in the San Pablo Bay to direct discharge to the new brackish wetland. It's a lot. The maps are even pretty dense to understand, but there is movement in restoring wetlands because they're being destroyed pretty bad, especially by the drought. That's my report.
Okay, thank you.
That's actually, thank you, Director Meggs. Just if you're all interested, in my years working in the North Bay Watershed Association, this is one of my favorite projects because it shows the beneficial use of effluent to establish wetland restoration, and it will be baylands eventually, and bring back many, many acres of tidal marsh habitat. And the effluent kind of creates this gradient between the salt water and the fresh water. So it creates more diversity. So hats off to Sandeep Karkal, the general manager of Novato Sanitary District. And then, but just so you know, I applied a lot of peer pressure on him to do this project.
Oh, really?
So
Wow.
this is to me, this is was my top priority project of the whole list of things they're working on. And so I'm just thrilled to see it go.
Yeah, I don't know if I said this, but it's 1,600 acres of former tidal marshlands near Belmont Keys.
So this is a big one water project, it's doing the effluent, it's doing the salt marsh restoration, sea level rise adaptation. It's just a great project. And, our sister agency, Novato Sanitary District, is a leader in making it happen.
I wonder if he would do a tour. That would be an interesting tour.
Yeah, it's just north of the Hamilton, the Hamilton wetland
Yeah.
restoration.
Yeah.
This is the neighbor to the north.
Okay.
And it's a great project. And the old Novato line used to be just a pipeline that went along the levee. Now it's being beneficially used to irrigate the wetlands. So all good.
Thank you for that, because this stuff is way over my head. Thank you.
Yeah, but thanks you did a great job reporting out, and it's an exciting project.
Yeah, it's good to hear these. Okay, item 9 is verbal report by GM.
Yeah, and I thank you, President Gaffney. I don't have a whole lot, but I got 3 quick items. First, we're doing a blood drive for life-saving blood donations. And on Wednesday, November 9th, here at the parking lot in Kerner, between 10:30 and 3 p.m. on Wednesday, November 9th, we are hosting folks to give blood. And it's something Christina Winicky of our staff has been spearheading. And it's on our website, so we're encouraging that. Number 2, I was asked to be a guest speaker at Marin Conservation League at an event this last weekend, and I gave a talk, and the name of my talk was "Water is a Round Trip Journey," and it talked about. I spoke about how treatment plants and the sewer system, but especially treatment plants, mimic natural processes but kind of concentrate them. And how we've solved a lot of public health problems that, before sanitation got involved. So I provided a little history lesson, and I said, that we currently treat water kind of as a one-way trip from reservoirs through our use and treatment to the bay, just kind of a linear vision. But if we mimic the circular vision of the water cycle and think of ways to replace rain then we create more resiliency in the face of climate change. And so the way you do that is you either recycle wastewater or you desalinate water to be able to replicate rain when you don't have it. So I think it was well received. And I pointed out, the benefits of recycled water development here in Marin. Just to remind folks that there's a lot more we can do, and even up to direct potable reuse. So I hope I was able to convince some folks in the Marine Conservation League that water recycling is really worth pursuing and creating partnership between us, the wastewater agencies, and the water districts of Marin County. So, and then third, you might recall you approved the idea of cost recovery efforts, that if other agencies need assistance, that we could provide it and recover our costs and make sure we get our work done that we need to get done first, right? So I wanted to let you know that this last summer, and Paul assisted with this, making staff available to the city of Larkspur for doing CCTV of their storm drain system. They had received some quotes and they were pretty outlandish or really high, exorbitant, maybe is the word, prices that they'd received. So they approached us and said, what would be our costs? So last December, their city council approved an agreement with us to provide services to do CCTV or closer camera work on the storm drain system, so they can do their condition assessment. And we wrapped up the first season of doing that. It hasn't been a great deal, because we're not working for them other than just in our spare time, right? But in the end, they are now at about 60% completion in the city of Larkspur's pretty ambitious projects, about 60% done. They didn't just use us, they also did some in-house work. They have some existing consultant work that they're going to repurpose, but that's a good milestone for them that they'll probably be able to get done next year. And for us, it was 6.5 days of 2 staff. So it's not bad, right? It's about a week and a day and a half for 2 of our staff to help them out. They got done about 100 surveys, 93 pipes, and almost 2 miles of CCTV of the Larkspur storm drain system. Now, when we're out there, we take GPS. So we're getting 3-dimensional, we're getting depth information on these storm drains, but guess what? We're right next to our sanitary sewers, especially in the Hillview area. And so we're getting valuable asset information that helps us when we want to change things with the sewer system. Now we've got data on the city of Larkspur's storm drain system. So that's pretty cool. And so in the end, we've charged them, Corey had got me the number today, almost $11,000. So for 2 miles, I don't know, maybe Tom can do the math, but 11,000 sounds like a pretty good deal. And that's just, our staff costs. We have a minor 2.5% markup for admin, but I think they're getting a good deal. So we plan to do the remainder. Again, we're not going to overwhelm our staff. Maybe a week's worth of work next year for a crew of 2, helping out our neighbors because they're underfunded to do the storm drain utility. And so, let the city council folks know next time you hang out with them, you're welcome. Yeah, no, we like working with you. Anyway, so I wanted to give you a little report. We haven't had, I asked Paul, we haven't really had a lot of inquiries on interagency assistance lately, but we stand ready to work folks in if they're in a pickle, like our folks at SD2 needed staff help last spring and we helped them out a little bit. So we're here to support, but we're still going to meet our metrics, which we'll talk about in the next items.
What was the bid that they got for TV? And it was gigantic, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think Paul probably doesn't know either. I don't.
Yeah, I don't have it offhand.
Okay.
It would be a good sound bite. I'll ask Julian one of these days, if I think about it.
Okay, good. Thank you, Steve. That's item 10 is verbal report by board members and requests for future items. Any comments? Nick, okay. Pamela, do you have any comments?
I just want to comment to Christina for doing such a worthy, maybe I'm out of context here, but a worthy cause about the blood drive. I don't think we've ever done that before at the district that I know of. So that's quite a thing to actually put together. And so I wanted to compliment you. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, good comment. Okay, item 11 is the consent calendar. Matters listed under this item are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion. Does anybody wish to pull anything off the consent calendar? Doug?
I'd like to pull 11B.
B, the financial statement.
Yeah. I had one quick question and then one more. This one's not a big deal, but Felicia, line 70, and by the way, I like the new format. It looks great. It's really, really beautiful. Line 71, I'm just curious, it's not a lot of money. Why are we spending money on Marin voters at this time of the year or this year?
Where are we, Doug? What?
Line 71, Marin County Register of Voters, we sent them money for a primary.
Oh, $250?
Is that
Yeah,
about right? Why?
it was an election year, and
Yeah.
even though we didn't have an election, we are still, that's the minimum charge
Oh.
for the, being on the ballot.
Okay. But that wasn't my main point. My main point was when I went to Ireland, you guys snuck off the board compensation, and I'm here to put it right back on. That was a request from the civil grand jury for boards to be more open and transparent. And I think you guys discussed, this is what I was told, is because somebody takes a lot more taxes out, it looks different. Why don't we just put it back on pre-tax and, X meetings times X salary equal X dollar. And that's, that's the transparency that we should be doing.
That's not a bad idea. I'm for that. I looked on our website too, and I couldn't find the compensation thing. I was having trouble finding it. So, the water district got rave reviews for their compensation reporting, even though they give out pensions and medical. But
Even though the subcommittee meetings everybody goes to.
Yeah, but I couldn't find it, so I'll maybe talk to somebody about it later. How does the board feel about that? Just putting in the number of meetings, that's fine with me.
Yeah.
Okay. Mary's nodding. Okay. Michael, objection?
No, whatever yeah.
In other
Okay.
words, you got that, Felicia.
Yeah.
If
So
it's
noted.
meetings times 3, there too.
Absolutely. Yep.
Other than I'm
Can
ready to
do.
make a on the consent.
That's a good comment. Okay, nobody wants to pull anything else?
I move the consent calendar.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, and I don't think we have a public roll call.
Yes, Director Borstein,
Yes.
Director Kelly,
Yes.
Director Meggs,
Yes.
Director Silla,
Yes.
President Gaffney.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Okay, we've done 12 and 13. Let's go to 14. Consideration of accepting year-end metrics report for fiscal year 21-22. This is a big one.
Yeah, this is, there's a lot going on here and, we do this every year. Our commitment to transparency, the type of outputs that we're generating as well as outcomes. And so I don't want to go on and on. I want a chance to answer some questions. I tried to structure the staff report this year in a way that you can cross-reference highlights to page numbers and table and figure numbers. So hopefully you took some advantage of that. On page 2 of the 3-page staff report, which is board packet 76, I highlighted the first list of bullets has to do with outcomes. That is measurements that show, an actual result from our efforts, and such as peak wet weather that are shown in table 1, or which fluctuate a bit, but are generally coming down. And we're also seeing the dry weather flow coming down. And then in the paragraph there, I mentioned that we set a new record this last year for the lowest percentage of dry weather flow not so far recorded compared to our joint power agencies. We reached 41%, which we'd never come that low before. On the dry weather. We came close a couple times in the last 5 years at 42%, but we have a new record as of June. And FYI, if you look at our monthly metrics report, we sustained 41% through July and August this year. And so what does that mean? You know, it's dry weather. Does that, you know, a lot of things get wound up into these outcomes, but it may relate a bit to, you know, water tables coming down with the drought, right? But it also implies during dry weather, there's less of the groundwater getting into our system compared to San Rafael and Corte Madera. You know, because we're compared on a curve here on this percent. So I think it's giving the board an indication of the outcome of all the investments and you know, supporting staff to get all these capital projects and in-house repairs done. Similarly, the wet weather volume on page board packet 89, you see there's the R factor row is an estimate of the percent of rain that ends up in the system. And we have this trend down from going back 7 years. There's instead of about 9% of the rain getting into our system, it's really hovering more around 7%, with an anomaly of last year that has been erased through a normal rainfall year. So I would just submit to the board, this is an outcome metric that we'll continue to track that looks good. And then you mentioned this, so I'll mention it. Board Member Borstein, if you go to page 30 of the staff of the metrics report, which is board packet page 108, this to me is our best outcome metric for our hard work in terms of the system condition itself, and that's grade 5 defects in the system. And so I've got it presented two different ways: one, pipes with a grade 5 defect, and then two, the total grade 5 defects that are remaining in the system. This is a great trend. You know, this is really showing that this concerted efforts of repair and rehabilitation are resulting in less of the serious defects being present. And those are the things that can really lead to sanitary sewer overflows and backups. There are these serious defects, big holes in the pipe, letting dirt in, roots growing completely across the cross section of the pipe, those kind of defects. And they've come down an order of magnitude in 7 years. So those are outcome metrics that I get a little more excited about, but you still have the output metrics, you know, the number of miles cleaned and our work orders completed in the pump station crew, you know, all things that we measure for our outputs and our productivity that are important as well. I think, you know, and I explain in detail in the staff report and even within the metrics report, the effect of COVID and restrictions related to that. What was the term that Felicia used? It was
mandatory COVID prevention protocols.
Yeah, right. that interfered with some of our efficiencies. You know, I believe the metrics are in. We did a detailed review, and I think the Marin Municipal Water District restrictions did have an impact on us. We did our best to maximize recycled water, you know, meeting the spirit of their prohibitions. But in the end, their prohibitions led to some performance issues with our agency. And, you know, I let them know that at two public hearings in April about the effects that type of strict restriction had on our operations. And this metrics report, you read it through here, that when a water district does that kind of restriction on potable water use, that it has an impact on a collection system, and we've documented that. But you know, as you know, we take great pride in recycling water, and we show that that metric reached a new high point this past year, and as far as percent exceeding 50% actual recycled water instead of potable water. And so with that, you know, I think there was some other tidbits. You know, energy costs are coming up. PG&E charged us in October last year. We reached a peak rate during the record storm of October 24th, 21. And they took that peak rate and gave us the whole month at that rate. And so it really boosted our cost for PG&E last year. I worked with Patrick to kind of figure out, like, why is it so much higher on page 13 of the report, you know, board packet page 91. And
That's why.
this is this max peak rate approach, which really is punitive to public agency. You know, and I think, you know, it warrants a little dialogue with PG&E about that structure. That's really, it's not. I feel like there's some fairness issues. So anyway, we'll see how far we can get with something like that. At any rate, yeah, there's much in here. You know, our SSO rate went up this last year. I feel that we're putting things in place that are going to help us prevent SSOs better using the CMMS system. We've talked about that. You know, Paul's doing a great job working with Josh and Patrick in improving our CMMS on a number of different fronts, including pump stations, as well as more referrals when we get serious defects that we observe in the field and prevent SSOs. And so far this year, you know, since this fiscal year, our SSO rate has come down. So we'll keep an eye on that. Keep the pedal to the metal, right, Paul? And I think we may see some metrics improvements this year because less COVID related restrictions, and we hired 2 new staff who are doing great. You know, I'm just hearing only great things about Mike and Miguel. So having a full field staff complement is going to help us meet our targets as well. So I think that's enough for my overview. I get pretty excited about this stuff. I'm very proud of this metrics report. You know, folks have used it as a model in statewide discussions. So I hope that reflects well on you as a board, and we thank you for your support in doing this type of work.
You know, that those maps on page 23 of the report that shows the spills, I think it's dramatic. You know, the circles where the spills are, or the overflows, really decreasing in the last couple of years and just steadily down, it looks like.
Yeah, we really did have a cluster last year of volume that really was around that big storm. Yeah, the remainder of the spills just were really low volume, which is a good indicator.
And you know, the other comment I had was that the grade 5 projects, I don't remember what page it's on. You know, it's on page 30.
30 of the report, board packet
It
108.
looks like we do about 300 a year, or, you know, around that, remove. Are we going to be down to 0?
Well, that's a great question, you know, and we're going to continue to track it. They do come back, you know, it's a dynamic system out there. You know, there's landslides and AT&T, they like to do directional drilling of their conduits. Sometimes they go right through a sewer and don't tell us because they don't know. And that's a grade 5, let me tell you something.
Yeah.
So they still come back, but hopefully, yeah, we're catching up as this shows. And
That's dramatic decrease.
Yeah, but maybe we get to 0, like Board Member Borstein said.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a great, you know, document. And I wonder if there's an award for metric reports.
This is a good one.
Yeah.
I think we already won that award through, you know, word of mouth.
Yeah, our reputation. Okay, let's go on to item 15, consideration of an amendment to the GM's contract.
Hey, Tom, just real quick, can I, just point out from before, if you go to our website and just search for board compensation, it
Yeah.
comes straight up.
And where did you, okay,
Just if you do the search up there for board compensation, the very first thing is board member
Should be right under the
compensation.
board. I haven't looked at the website lately, but it should be right under the board. Meetings and agenda and compensation should be on.
It is. Open Government Board of Directors, board member compensation and reimbursement.
Okay,
It's,
good.
anyway, it's right there. Also, Steve, I believe that I heard from one of the staff in the field, I'm not sure, that we're gonna start using a technology that's, we're gonna put something in a pipe that will burn through a root and also patch up wherever that root is coming through. Is that something I dreamt of, or was that a real thing?
We have to
Never mind.
defer to Paul if he's heard anything like this.
Yeah, no, I don't think there was one that we have looked into some root foaming possibly, which after you flush kind of pushes back on the roots back out of the pipes a little bit. And we're also looking at the coat cutters for the laterals. I don't know if they're talking about that for removing roots.
Okay.
But
Never mind then.
I planted that person to tell you that, Michael, so that you
Okay,
would
good.
not talking to staff in the field. Just kidding.
I'm not worried.
Did you start a laser rumor,
Nope.
Director Silla? Yeah, right.
A laser rumor?
Yeah, like with burning the roots back in and all that.
No, Michael's not supposed to be talking to staff in the field. It's a long running issue.
Yeah, but we're always on the lookout for innovative technologies, no question.
that's right. Okay, let's move on to 15, consideration of an amendment to the GM's contract. No staff. And so we went through our annual GM review, which is pretty structured. And every board member filled out a questionnaire rating the general manager's performance. And we have Michael was good enough to compile the whole thing for us because I was gone. But we talked about it. And so did you want to make a few comments, Michael? And
No, we just, we went through it. Each board member had a chance to discuss their opinions and thoughts. And I mean, we're going to give Steve a copy of all the forms that we were given that were distributed earlier. We're just, as a whole, I think very, very extremely happy. And so I guess I would just start off by saying we'd like to do a couple of things for his compensation and the contract. Right now, every year we've just been increasing, extending the contract by a year. So it's a 1-year contract, so we extend it by a year. So I believe that it comes out as a 2-year contract. We're thrilled to have you here and be a part of this and directing this whole thing and steering the ship and doing all that. And so the recommendation by the committee is that we'd like to extend your current employment contract for 4 additional years. And just instead of 1, we want you to stay here. So we're hoping that's a good thing. As far as compensation goes, the whole district got 4.5% COLA, cost of living adjustment. And you suggested that was just fine. So nothing extraordinary there. Then we'd love for you to have a performance bonus of 5%, which don't spend it all in one place, $14,105.85. Hope it doesn't put you in a new tax bracket. So that's it.
Michael, can I ask for a clarification?
Yes.
Sorry, I guess I'll wait for a motion and then I'll ask for a clarification on the motion. Or was that a motion?
No, I don't think we have a motion yet.
I would move.
Any of,
I move.
we think you're doing fabulous. Okay, Doug,
I move the compensation.
does anybody else have anything just to add for public enjoyment?
As we've shared with Steve, he's doing a remarkable job. We couldn't be happier with the way the district is moving forward and being run. And in no small part, his leadership, but also the people he's attracted, and then collaboration with Felicia, attracting Paul from CMSA, being a model district in the state, going from being a laughing stock of the state to being a model district in the state. He's been a big part of that, and really thinking forward about how to keep staff morale high. It really does seem like you all enjoy coming to work. I think Felicia said something to the effect of this is the best job she's ever had. So that's remarkable. And that is not easy to do, particularly in a public utility that's doing something like this. So we're really all grateful. We gave him, very high marks on all accounts. And then I'll move out of the way for a motion if everybody else wants that. Thank you, Steve.
Well, of course, I'd like to say, congratulations to Steve. I mean, it's just a outstanding year again. It seems like every year we get a lot more done. We build, we're not going backwards in anything, as I can tell. I think Steve and Felicia probably a lot into this, have a knack for hiring really good employees. I think all the new employees we've gotten are just outstanding. And like Corey taking over the financial documents, and he gets them out, and now you get them out a month early, and they're really comprehensive. I think it's all up and down the line. I see people that are really good, and that's an indication that people want to work here, I think. So, that's what I'd expect. And I think Paul's made a huge contribution on the metrics report, among other things, and he's all over the construction at 1111 Anderson, so that's pretty fabulous too. And it's interesting, Steve, we do your review, and we end up we review staff too at the same time. It just happens that way because you've assembled a team. We see lots getting done, and the metrics reports show it, and other things show it as well. So, I would welcome a motion. There's 3 items in the motion: the salary, the bonus, and the extension of the contract.
I already made the motion.
Okay.
Can I clarify with respect to the extension of the contract?
Yes.
It is currently scheduled to end in December of 2023. Did you want it to go out to end of 26 or end of 27? Just want to make sure I understand the motion. Where does 4 years start?
At the end of what's currently there.
He'd get a 5-year contract.
Okay, so it would go out until the end of 2027.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And with that, I move to accept the suggestions.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Roll call vote?
Yes, Director Borstein,
Absolutely.
Director Kelly,
Double thumbs up.
Yes.
Director Meggs,
Yes.
Director Silla,
Yes.
President Gaffney.
Yes. Okay, thank you, everybody, and congratulations on that one.
Yes,
Thank you.
Thank you, board members. I really enjoy working with you, all of you, and the great staff that supports me. Not possible without them. So thanks for everything.
We can do the coronation in November.
President Gaffney, speaking of excellent staff, I've been reminded by our excellent senior admin coordinator, Christina Velazquez here, that we didn't actually get a motion on our consent calendar this evening after Director Kelly pulled the financial statements off of the consent calendar, item 11.
Mhm.
We didn't then do a vote to adopt the consent.
Christina.
Very nice catch, Christina.
I would
So,
like to
Tom,
move
if you
the
bring that back
consent.
up, I'll make a motion.
Do we need to do anything except move it?
No, he needs to bring it back up.
I thought we voted on that because it had a resolution in it. And I thought, I remembered let's do it again.
The consent calendar?
Yeah, I
I
thought
thought
we
we
did.
did. Let's just do it again.
Do it
Uh,
again.
I
Belt
move
and
that we
suspenders.
consent calendar with the advice of the board on the board compensation being put back into the financial document.
Second,
Okay, all in favor or
Yeah.
roll call?
Director Borstein,
yes.
Director Kelly,
Yes.
Director Meggs,
Yes.
Director Scylla,
Yes.
President Gaffney.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Okay, let's move on to item 16, monthly operation and maintenance metric report.
Yes. So now we drill down to the monthly report, and pleased to let you know there were no SSOs in September. And we had a no SSOs in July and one in August. So we've had one SSO so far in the first quarter of this fiscal year. And I don't have a whole lot else to add other than I mentioned, so on board packet 127, page 6 of this report, you see 3 consecutive months of 41% of the dry weather flow. So we're reaching a new low coast. And then when we got rain in September, we ticked up a little bit on percent of flow, but still well under 50%, which is what our historic wet weather flow contribution is. So.
Which is money in our pockets.
Yeah, and I think we mentioned that, right, Felicia, in the staff report that, when we have these low percentage flows, we end up paying less than the budgeted amount for CMSA treatment because the budgeted amount is based on the last 3 years as a rolling average. So it's an estimate of what we expect to pay. And since I've been here, every year we've had to pay less than what was budgeted. So we're seeing, and San Rafael has had to pay more than was budgeted. And so that's just a trend that continues.
It's marvelous. I remember we were in the 50s, years ago. Since I've been on the board, it was up to 50 something.
Yeah. So this is what, $100 million of revenue bonds and and concerted effort to do
And in-house repairs.
and in-house repairs and lateral program, and
Lateral, yeah.
and even now, one of the innovations this year, Paul has helped spearhead, which is when we get defects at the lateral connection that our CCTV identifies, we actually do a little field work, and if we see that, that's owned by the landowner. That's the property owner's responsibility is the lateral connection. And so we're sending letters to homeowners to get those repaired. That's where, right at the lateral connection is a good spot, is a good I&I location. It also can lead to SSOs with debris coming in. So this is a good step into compliance assurance that Paul is helping to spearhead. Thank you, Paul.
We don't want to get a letter from the district, is what you're telling me.
Yeah, so we're seeing how that's going, and so far it looks like some plumbers are being called, and we're seeing how it's going. So far, we're getting some good response, right, Paul?
Yeah, no, it's been really good actually. And just one of the highlights here in the staff report actually is, as CCTV crews are seeing some of these defects, we're actually dye testing too. Working with homeowners to confirm laterals. So in this last month, we tested 15 defected laterals and identified 12 laterals that were not in compliance or leaking. We'll also notify homeowners if they have large root balls in their laterals, so that if they can work with a plumber to remove the roots and we can catch them in the main so that we don't create any SSOs as well.
Mhm. Excellent. Okay.
That's a good one. And yeah, anything else, Paul, you wanted to highlight for the board?
I have a couple other items. One of the good ones, like you stated earlier, Steve, pump station 14 is one of our last items there out of that cease and assist order, and we've been working hard with the repair crew over there. We set up bypass pumping at the station so Tesco controls could rewire the station controls and work on everything safely. And we temporarily bypassed the station and used smart cover system to monitor the collection system as we were setting it up to make sure we didn't have any overflows, which went really well. And we also contracted with or perform electrical preventative maintenance at a lot of the majors, 10, 12, 13, and 15. And for getting prepared for wet weather, checking for loose connections, hot spots, and whatnot. So really getting ramped up in case we have a wet weather this season. Pump station 14 was skipped, but that was due to the construction and the work going on there right now. And the repair crew actually we found another lost manhole. It was at Vista Grande Avenue. It was 3 feet below grade. It was buried. So it took quite an effort to find and raise this access point for maintenance. So I got to applaud the maintenance crew for that, or the repair crew for that, being able to find this lost node and bring it back to life. And one last highlight, staff work creating a new SOP for our competency-based training for the long-awaited skid steer loader over at the landing that was approved last fiscal year. It has arrived. Very nice piece of equipment, and it'll relieve us of having to rent a forklift at the landing and save the district about $1,500 a month in equipment rentals now.
Yeah, great highlights. Thank you, Paul.
Excellent. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's see. Any more comments by anybody? I'd like to declare the meeting adjourned. Our next meeting is regular meeting on November 16th at 5 o'clock and via Zoom. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, staff.
Thank
Thank
you.
Thank
Thanks
you all.
again,
Good
board
night.
members.
Good night.
4 more years, right?
4 more years.